can see if it says go live. We're live.
So good morning, everyone. We are on take 2 here. We've got a little bit of deja vu. We attempted to record this session yesterday into LinkedIn. Little did we know that the feedback that I was receiving, that everybody else could receive as well. So we've decided to redo our session. This is the first in our series with Pieta and myself, Keep Calm and Carry On. We're going to be doing 6 sessions on how to live a stress-free and resilient life. Now, this time of year is really tricky for us all because it's coming up to Christmas. We've just come out of summer. We probably haven't booked our next holiday. We're probably thinking, my goodness me, where are we financially? So this can be a really difficult, stuck and sticky, difficult time of year. So Pieta and I have decided that we want to support you physically, mentally, emotionally. And we're going to start off with the session that is all about back pain, chemicals that are going on in our body, understanding our triggers. So Pieta, welcome to our session that we hopefully is going to go better than yesterday. So to set up, first of all, will you tell everyone what they can expect from this session? What are the outcomes that you're looking for here?
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks everyone for watching, whether you're on the live or the playback. I hope today is really informative and practically helpful for you. Both Carrie and I have had a long history with back pain and stress ourselves, and it's very common. Likelihood is you do too if you're watching. So what you can expect today is we're going to talk about, can stress contribute to back pain? How can you tell that it's stress related itself? And what happens under the hood when the body is actually stressed? Why does it cause us pain physically, psychologically? And then what are the common triggers? So what can we expect to be the triggers for that stress-related back pain? The top tips too, which I think are always going to be really helpful, of how to rebalance cortisol and adrenaline in the body. And of course, I've got a few tips at the end of how you can get out of pain right now. If you're sitting at your desk right now, I've got some exercises for you, and then I've got a little secret special treat at the very end as well.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. I'm looking forward to that. We all need treats on a Tuesday. So why don't we just dive in first of all, Pieta? Can you tell us, what's your particular back pain story? Because obviously our growth, we both do what we do because we've been through difficult times ourselves. I always say to people, I don't stand here because I got everything right. I often do what I do because I got everything wrong. My body crashed. I've been through all this. So what's your particular back pain story?
Well, it's pretty varied, and I think it dates right back to when I was a teenager. It was the first time I ever experienced back pain. Actually, just before my period, I'd get lower back aches, really deep ache. It'd also go down the fronts of my thighs. But also just sitting with a bad posture. Obviously, we're sitting all day at school. There was the stress of exams. I did feel a lot of achiness and stiffness through my mid-back. Then, obviously, I was riding horses then. I used to fall off horses all the time, so I was battered and bruised. Moving into becoming a young adult, again, lots of hormonal changes. I was mostly tight through my mid-back. I had a few knots, lots of burning sensations. Tension headaches. I remember tension headaches a lot in my 20s, and it was stress related without a doubt. So very tight in my neck, and when we get stressed, we lift our shoulders up, we kind of shorten our neck. So tension headaches were a big problem for me back then. I used to snowboard. I did a lot of TV presenting back then, so I was on my feet a lot and just not standing with a good posture or a strong core. Moving on a little bit later on, I experienced a bit of grief in my life, and that really did show up in my lower back. I'll never forget it. It was something that also really triggered me to get into fitness because it was appearing in a really physical form for me. Then, after having children, oh my God, I then started to experience my first taste of degeneration in discs. Yeah. So a bulging disc. And then after my second child, I had a herniation, a full disc herniation. And that's when I was actually already quite fit and strong, but it was relative to overload. So I was loading too much with heavy weight, not the dumbbells. It was simply carrying shopping bags from a supermarket. And I was tired. I was very tired. So there's lots of different experiences that I've had that have been stress related, environmentally, psychological. I've had the works, and I'm sure many people who are listening, you probably got, oh my God, that happened to me as well. So yeah, it's pretty much all of us. We've had an experience there. 84% actually of adults at some point in their life, or still are experiencing pain in their back. And the reoccurrence is really high, really, really, really high, unless we do something about it. We've got to work on preventing it.
Yeah. And I think it's really interesting because through your whole story there, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, yeah, obviously when I was pregnant and carrying children, your back pain, you know, you sort of get used to being in pain for around 5 months nonstop. And a lot of it for me, you know, is identifying, is it just a period in my time when I was, you know, sitting exams, for example, and so I was sitting and revising and then doing exams, and did I move through it and come out of it? Was it an acute injury, or is it something that has become, you know, it's moved from 3 weeks to 3 months to I've had back pain for 3 years? And that's really important, because then actually, you know, we're talking about stress and resilience today. It's not just an injury. I remember when I tore my sacroiliac joint. Oh my goodness me. So I had sciatica, I had the whole lot. But actually, I got through that. You know, that was something I moved through. The back pain I've got now, unfortunately, is a way I'm holding my body, and I need to unlearn it, because everything is contributing to that. And I always say to people, you know, whether it's about our thoughts in terms of who we are, what we want to become, etc., everything is the story that we're telling ourselves. And sometimes even the physical stuff like this can be the story that we're telling ourselves. You know, oh yeah, I suffer from back pain. I have this. So I try really hard. I do a lot of Joe Dispenza, for anybody knows about, you know, the thought processes, because he broke his back. And he told himself through his, you know, through his work that I don't have a bad back, and he managed to change his mindset around that. But let's come back to one of the key issues today. So that's the acute thing when we hurt ourselves. But can stress, Pieta, contribute to back pain then?
Absolutely. I mean, in a very short, punchy sentence, yes, it can. I mean, it does vary from person to person, and there's really strong evidence to show that chronic stress over a long period of time really does contribute to chronic pain overall. And the symptoms can be gradual over time. But for example, you know, what you might feel in your lower back, for example, is like a really stiff, achy feeling, like a muscle spasm that might radiate a little bit down the legs. It's not necessarily sciatic. It's not something that feels like it's spinal. It's more kind of tissue based. And then for the mid to upper back, you know, it can feel like a burning sensation, or like lots of pressure, or just like you're constantly feeling like there is a really big knot in the middle of your back there. So it's very uncomfortable. And, you know, essentially, as I said, it really depends on the person. It depends on how long the stress has been happening. Yes, you can have a moment of back pain if the stress has been like this moment of a spike. You might get all of a sudden a sharp pain, and that is normally due to the way that we're holding ourselves, what's happening under the hood as well. I mean, I'm so interested in this. I did a Harvard course on back pain management, because many of my clients, as I said, 84% of the population out there come to me with back niggles of some kind. Not all are stress related, but all of them have had stress in their life. So of course it has contributed at some point.
And I think it's really important to say that, you know, even if it's not stress related, even if that's not the cause, then actually, of course, stress exacerbates pain. You know, we might have a gut issue, and it might not be caused by stress, but oh my goodness me, if we are stressed and if we are in this state of inflammation, then of course it's exacerbated, isn't it? And I think that's what we need to be clear about, you know. And when we hurt ourselves, then it's fantastic. We need the, we need the white cells, and we need the 999 responders in different places around our body. But I guess what we're talking about in terms of this chronic pain, which is then exacerbated by the stress, is something ongoing. And we see that in dementia, we see that in heart disease, we see that in other non-communicable diseases around the body, and back pain is exactly the same. It's exacerbated by stress, even if it's not caused by it, isn't it?
That's right, absolutely. And I think, if you're now sitting here going, oh my goodness, okay, because most people I assume we're talking to are people who are at work or are very, very busy juggling 1,000 balls, have a lot going on. They're in the phase of their life where perhaps they've got children or lots of family commitments, and, career driven as well, but also sit down a lot and do have various stresses appear in their life. These are the people that we're talking to. So you might be saying, okay, great, this all sounds great, but how do I know? How can we tell that my back pain is perhaps being contributed by stress that I have in my life? I'm not going to lie, it is challenging to determine. And if you do, or if you've had serious back niggles or just really annoying niggles for some time, then I do really recommend that you go and get it checked by a health practitioner to do a proper assessment in case it's not something else, because there are many different types of conditions of the spine that it could be. So you kind of want to rule it out.
Yeah, and get that scan, Pieta. Yeah, get that scan.
Absolutely. Yeah. See a physio as well if you feel that you really want to get straight into doing some exercise and whatnot. But essentially, we need to kind of find the underlying issue. Now, if you want to know how can I tell if it's from stress, then do some stress relieving exercises and protocols. And if your pain goes away and it stays away for a while, then chances are it was caused by the stress that you're experiencing at the moment or over time. But if you find that it is still very, very painful, it's really hindering your sleep, you're getting sciatic pain down the leg, then that's something else again. So as I said, if you attempt these stress relieving exercises and the pain goes away, then likelihood it is stress related, and you need to practice more stress relieving protocols in your routine, your daily life, like breathing air. So
yeah, which we forget, our life force. We forget to actually stop and breathe, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think because we're so busy, we really don't have time, or we feel like we don't have time. We don't prioritize our time to do very important work like this that will really help not only get us into a pain-free state, but it will actually prolong our life. Because if we start to look about what's happening under the hood, and I know that you're beginning to allude to that now, Carrie, like let's get into the nitty-gritty. What is actually happening to the body when it's in a stress state?
Yeah.
Well, if we think about physically and structurally speaking, when we're under stress, it changes the way we hold ourselves. It changes our posture. We can be quite subconsciously guarded or very highly strung, and then it shows up in our body. It actually changes the shape of your body.
Yes.
So our shoulders come up. We can round our shoulders forward. We can push our chin forward. Because I'm sitting down at a desk anyway, we become sort of quite closed in. And it can tuck our pelvis under as well. So there's lots of structural changes happening in our body when we feel very stressed. Now, over time, that really tenses our muscles up. How we breathe is quite shallow. And it's a very physical feeling. We get that kind of pain and that tense muscle feeling. And it can be historical, right? So let's say the stress started from a very, very young age. It can really change the shape of our bodies. So I guess, in addition to that, the fascia in our body, so that's the connective tissue that actually shapes our body, actually keeps the whole body together in its shape. It is like memory foam. It's very, very amazing emotional tissue. And, if we've been through some kind of accident, injury, grief, any kind of trauma, stress, the tissue can remember this way in which we've been holding ourselves, and it can really it can re-memorize and hold that deep pain, which is often what we can feel in our hips and our lower back, which is why yoga and any kind of mobility work which really helps open the body up is very, very releasing, very, very good for stress relief. The other thing is that stress is incredibly acidic, and you just said it before, it causes inflammation in the body. So, over time, it starts to mess with our stress response hormones. So, cortisol and adrenaline, and it becomes quite dysfunctional. So, what can happen over prolonged periods if our cortisol and our adrenaline are running at the wrong levels, or, highly elevated or way too low, or just completely all over the place, it can damage our cells, even our DNA. It can actually accelerate aging. So it's no wonder that people who have experienced a lot of stress, all of a sudden go grey a lot quicker, grey hair. There's lots of changes to accelerate aging in the body. But, lots of cortisol in the body over time triggers more oxidative stress, which is actually a natural toxin the body produces. But too much of that is really not great for the body. And cortisol's purpose, it's very important, hormone in the body. We need it because it regulates our weight, our appetite, our metabolism, our immunity. If it's all of a sudden at that fight or flight stage and it's now getting you ready to run, because that's essentially what cortisol will do if it feels like it's in danger, then it takes it away from focusing on your immunity and your digestion. So again, no wonder when we're stressed, we get digestive issues, we get, really, really all sorts of trouble down there, and we can get sick. We can fall ill more often. And then same for obviously adrenaline, your heart rates can be increased, your blood pressure goes up, and it's just not great for the body in terms of your overall health. I'm going to hand it over to you for the psychological side of things, because that's a whole nother ball game and very much interweaved into all of this as well.
It is. But I would just want, some of the things that you're saying there are so important. One of the things that you always do on your sessions is push the head back. We forget how heavy our head is.
Yeah.
And, what we really want to do with all of our nutrition, our sleep, we want to go back to the way ancestors did these things. They weren't sat at desks. Their head wasn't poking forward because they were looking at a phone all the time. They didn't have these issues in the same way. And I think for us that it's understanding that, during COVID, I would often talk to clients and they were like, oh, I haven't even got up from my desk all day. My husband's just brought me a sandwich. And I'd be saying, get up, shake, move. You can't have your body, you're holding it, as you're saying, the fascia in one position all day long. That's just so bad for you. And also when we're in that state, as you've said, this is the sympathetic body. This is the system that's in go, 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 with the fight or flight, high alert. We can't do that all the time. That causes our body damage. We're all just a mass of chemicals. And either those chemicals are working correctly and we feel good and we are pain-free, or our body is in a state of literally ease. And that's usually when we're holding ourselves, when we're holding pain, when we're holding thoughts, when we're holding other people going through difficult times. And this is why it's impossible for me with the work that I do now to separate the physical, whether it's sleep, nutrition, physical movement, from the mental, from managing our emotions, from trying to move through it, and also to be able to pinpoint at any one point of the day, where am I and how do I move through this? Because if I stay in this, really low point, and emotions are just information, then actually my chemicals aren't working properly. I'm in a state of, as you said, acidity. So it's really important for us to be able to notice and move through that, and to be able to balance with the parasympathetic, the yoga, the Tai Chi, the Qigong. They're just stopping the breath, noticing the breath and noticing where the body's at. Like you said earlier, what I find is that I can be in really quite severe back pain before I go to sleep. But the telling thing for me is I wake up and I know I'm pain-free. So what am I holding? How do I download that before it really gets tight? How do I move through that? It's it's so important to mesh the psychological and understand what's going on, because otherwise we hold, as we know, the body keeps the score, right? That's an amazing book for any of you who haven't read that. But the body keeps the score. So as Gabor Mate would say, we're holding different pieces of trauma, and we need to be able to check in with our bodies and feel it and know it and be able to move through it, you know, in order to be able to get to the other side. So Pieta, will you tell me, what are your, you know, we're talking about cortisol. This is the body in overdrive. What's your top tips to rebalance or calm down? Because as you've said, not only does it affect our back pain, but what we have to assess is all these other flags, I guess. Are the red flags just for here and now? I'm stressed because I've just run across a road, my heart rate's going. Or actually, if I notice my heart rate is up all day, every day, is my gut dodgy just because I'm doing a live, you know, or I'm going to do a talk in front of 1,000 people? Or do I actually have gut issues every day? So what are your top tips to rebalance and calm the cortisol and adrenaline?
Okay, well, grab a pen, guys. I mean, the body's very incredibly complex and clever because it will interpret your psychological stress as a real physical emergency, right? So it doesn't know the difference between that awful bill that you've just received or something that's very confrontational versus like you're in danger and you need to run like hell, right? So there's very situational stress, and then there's the over long time, constant high level stress, high functioning stress. I guess we often hear that said, you know, which is many of us who are juggling, you know, a lot of balls and also going through hormonal changes. So I think the key tips to help balance cortisol and adrenaline, the first one is Carrie's already listed great, you know, modalities to help with connecting with your breath, you know, yoga and meditation and things like that. What can become overwhelming about those things, because this is not new, we've told you this kind of stuff before, is that you often think, I don't have time to do this kind of stuff. Don't add it on your to-do list. Okay, that would be number one. Any kind of 5 minutes of meditation or just a moment to breathe is not a thing to tick off. It's part of your routine, like brushing your teeth. Okay, so you have to look at it slightly differently. You have to get also very honest with yourself about what the underlying stress is. So these are kind of the setup things you need to do before anything else, all right? Get really honest with yourself about the stress you're enduring, okay? Because we're very good at just enduring it, particularly women. You know, we're like a frog in a cold pot that's on a low heat that eventually starts to boil and they don't even notice. Okay, so it's super important to think about what are you enduring and over how long. Then we can start to look at the real practical stuff that to really help bring your cortisol into balance. One is obviously seek some professional guidance and coaching or counseling, all right, to really help unleash, let go of any of that psychological stress, okay? Super important. Then we've got other things like your nasal breathing. So notice if you're a mouth breather. Okay, so if you've constantly got your mouth open all day, if you sigh a lot, you know, maybe you feel like that is constantly your state, then have a think about consciously breathing slowly in and out of the nose, nice and gently into your diaphragm. Okay, that could be one thing that could change everything for you just in terms of how you are breathing, because it changes a lot of chemicals, flows within the body, your digestion, your mental clarity, your metabolism, everything, like your immunity even. All right. Then, of course, let's have a look at your diet. Are you eating foods that are increasing the inflammation in your body? So if you're already operating at quite a high functioning stress state, I'm fine, everything's fine. You know, you're busy. Everyone is busy, but you are eating a diet that is very inflammatory. Guess what's going to happen? That inflammation in the body is only going to increase and exacerbate even more. And it's only going to add to that cycle of, you know, the hormonal imbalance, gut issues, immunity problems, later on over a long time, then some serious disease, you know. Hydration. How much water are you drinking at the moment? Hydration is linked to anxiety, depression, sleep issues, immunity problems, all sorts of stuff. You know, so really get that good, pure water liters of it into your body every day. Okay, so I like to say 2.5 liters to 3 maximum, depending on you, but that's good guidance. Cut the caffeine. Cut the caffeine, team. It's only going to really make things feel jittery for you, particularly if you're in a stressed, inflamed state. You'll be highly sensitive to caffeine. If you're used to feeling that way, so sometimes people in a stressed state who drink a lot of coffee are kind of used to the habit of feeling quite, like they feel like that's a good thing. Take it out of the system for a while. Notice the difference in your calmness across the day and your relationship to the coffee now. But from a chemical standpoint, it's very, very helpful for rebalancing the cortisol and adrenaline in the body. And then I haven't left it to last because it's not as important. In fact, none of these are in a list of importance, but I just wanted to really highlight exercise and movement. So one of the most powerful things you can do today is to go for a walk, get out in nature, move the body, breathe, but do some regular exercise. Get your heart rates up, sweat, start building muscle, all right? Because that muscle growth is going to help boost your immunity. It's going to help you live longer, team. Okay, you'll certainly be able to cope with stressful situations far, far better, okay? Because stress is never going away, right? So exercise regularly, and I mean every day, move every day. Okay, get your steps up if that's all you can do today. All right. But those are probably the top things. I've got a few more, but I think hopefully that has kind of given you a little list of things to not tick off, like on your to-do list, but to go, even if you pick 1 or 2 of those things today, it could make a big difference to your back pain, funnily enough.
Yeah, massively. And, we're talking about an anti-inflammatory lifestyle, and whether we look at what's, an example for us in the blue zones, or, whether we look at people in this country who, are living till a really ripe old age. And we're not talking about living to a ripe old age and spending the last 20 years in pain, which is what the statistics show us in this country.
It's ridiculous.
Average age is around 76, actually 73 to 76. And the last 20 years we're spending in pain and chronic illness. So, what we see when we look at example countries like Icaria and the blue zones is that people keep moving. They keep moving. They exercise every single day, and it's a range of different weight-bearing exercises. They drink wonderful herbal drinks and fresh water. They are breathing wonderful air and doing lots of, community work together. They're getting loads and loads of sleep, and they are eating predominantly vegetables and greens. This is the anti-inflammatory lifestyle. So that's everything there. And don't forget, water is alkaline. So the reason water is so good is not only because it flushes our system, it washes away all the mud and the dirt and the rocks, but it's anti-inflammatory in that it is alkaline. So that's why we want to get this in. So if you're thinking this is you today, what I always say as a coach is, right, okay, this is what we're wanting to be. I am no longer, so I am somebody without back pain. Let's put that out there first of all. I'm somebody without back pain. Yeah. How do I get there? So you have to set up for success. Where's my sleep at right now? Do a check-in. How many hours am I getting? What quality? What's my food like right now? How many veggies am I getting in? 5 to 10 a day. Get an understanding of where you're at. And where am I in terms of exercise? Do I move every day? And is it a variety? Am I balancing the sympathetic with the parasympathetic? So do a check into your reality today as you're listening to us, so that you're then able to set up for success. What needs to be changed? Yeah. And as Pieta said, work with somebody on this so that you can systematically start to prioritize. It's not something to add in to the stress to-do list. So Pieta, I mean, physically, I also, with some, as somebody with some pain now and then, I use some wonderful things as well as that. Obviously, I've got my roller, I've got my bolster, I've got the Theragun, which you introduced me to. I've got my Shakti mat, which is like an acupressure, cheapest thing actually out of all of this. And that really releases the muscular strain. Then I've got my red light therapy, which also helps me. And then I used pulse magnetic devices. So We've got so much. I always say this with people: sleep. Don't ever accept you don't get good sleep. Back pain. Don't ever just say it's here to stay. There's so much we can do. So, what would you say to people today that are listening saying, I've got back pain to you? What would you say to them to help ease it right now and manage it going forward?
Well, I mean, like all those amazing, pain relief protocols that you've listed are amazing. Pick one, pick one that you can use as a stress relief protocol. So the Theragun is great for really getting deep into the muscles. The Shakti mat's like laying on a bed of nails. I mean, it's amazing. It feels like your own just self acupuncture, but you'll find something as like a relaxing, and it's temporary pain relief. Okay. So these aren't necessarily things that will fix it, but they're great things you can use to help when you feel like you really need to relax. I think the key thing to remember with stress and back pain is that it is something that you can prevent, but you can also fix. So if you're in that right now, it's about thinking about movement, your mobility, your range of movement, your access to your muscles, your posture. I bang on about posture all the time, as Karen knows, in all of our sessions, and our breath, right? So the key thing, though, I think long term is to get your strength training into your psyche. So if you've never picked up some dumbbells before, you've never really done strength training, or maybe you're just always doing cardio based, treadmill, running, things like that, but you've not really focused on building muscle, then this is a new focus for you. It's very good for stress relief, and then obviously building muscle. So it's a win-win, guys. It really, really is a win-win. So I wanted to do a little exercise, practical one for now, because I assume you're all sitting down, unless you're out there walking and listening to us as a podcast, which is great. You can maybe come back to this another time. But if you're sitting at your desk right now, I want you to sit on your chair with your feet flat on the ground. Okay, and I want you to think about how you're holding yourself in your chair right now. Okay, so your feet are flat. Your ankles are more in line with your knees. We're engaging our core. So if we're sitting in our laptop and we're hunching over, we're slumped back, shoulders rolled forward, guess what? It's going to hurt eventually, all right? So I want you to think about your posture in your chair. We're going to lengthen through our spine, engage our core. And what do I mean by that? Think about pulling up through that pelvic floor. So it's internal. And then those transverse muscles that wrap around like a corset, we're going to get those into an activated stage, right? So our core is engaged. I want you to relax the upper body, and I want you to focus on your nasal breath, all right? So just breathe in. You're going to breathe into your belly. You can put your hand there if you like. And then you're going to exhale through the nose slowly too. Really simple exercise there. An easy one to do anytime. On a plane, if you hate flying, do that. If you're in the car, do that. If you're at your desk and you just need a moment to just chill out and refocus and realign with your breath, okay? So that's your breath, that's your chair posture, okay? The other thing is to release tension in the neck. When we are typing and when we get very stressed, this happens, okay? We actually start to shorten the length of our neck. We start to shorten our traps. What we want to do is to pull those shoulders down. Again, it comes to posture. So simple exercises, again, with your feet flat on the ground. Think about that chair posture. It's just to drop your ear to your shoulder. And you can either just leave it there. Notice if you start to tip. Okay, so I want you just to try and keep nice and square. You can have the hand also just place it on the outside of the head here. You just feel a nice little stretch. I'm not asking you to overdo it. You just want to feel a gentle stretch. Okay, so we're not pulling on the head. Then we can just gently release. And then we'll do the other side. We just let it fall to the ear. Take a breath, and then you can use the other hand just to place a little bit of extra weight. We're not pulling on it, okay? Now you can hold these positions for 10 to 30 seconds, okay? And you can repeat them up to 5 times if you really feel that you need it. Okay, a couple more for you because the neck radiates down, right? Super important, again, for your back, is we're just going to turn the head to the left and just notice how that feels. Notice how far you can see. Maybe you can't actually see that far behind you. So your neck mobility counts for a lot, right? Then we're going to turn to the other side. Right? You can just breathe and hold and just acknowledge how you're feeling. Make sure those shoulders are pulled down, okay?
And you can actually breathe into it, Pieta, can't you? You know, in yoga, we often say, right, breathe into this area, breathe into, and that really works. You know, our
exactly.
attention goes where, you know, we want it to. So if we're focused on an area where we've got tension, breathe into that area and it makes a big difference.
Absolutely. But from like not only just a focus standpoint and a relaxing standpoint, actually in the physical form, when we breathe in and then we exhale and then we move, we actually get more range of movement in that exhalation. So you can hold it at that point. That's your furthest point. Take another breath in and then exhale again. Chances are you can get your head around a little more. I mean, not like wonderful. Yeah, but it's a really, very powerful tool to use in any kind of range of movement and exercise is the breath, right? It's not just connect with the breath. There's a lot of kind of, you know, helpful elements to it. The other thing I want you to do, just to finish off the exercises, is to get the chin more in alignment with your spine. So a lot of this happens, you know, we're happening like this, you know, we're at the laptop, we don't even realize we're doing it, okay? So what I want you to think about, again, is that chair posture. And I want you to then think about lifting your chin up and then just pull it back a little bit. So we're just pulling back the head back in alignment with the spine. I don't mean to this point where you've got double chins, all right? You've gone too far. All right, I just mean just a little bit so you feel like you're more in alignment. Okay, now what you can do here now is place your hand on your forehead. Just create a little bit of pressure of the hand into the head and then equally the head into the hand. It's going to help lengthen and also strengthen the muscles in the front of your neck here. You can close your eyes and breathe. And then you can do the same, the reverse from the back. Okay, so again, I'm going to press the hands into the head and a little of the head into the hands. Good, and you can do both arms and you have your, I mean, these are quite good to do in the office. No one's going to notice. Do it all together.
Yeah. I love this when somebody does this in yoga and they'll take your head from behind and just sort of carry it. And you then realize, oh my goodness me, my head's so heavy because someone else has got it in your hands and you think, whoa, am I carrying that all day?
Yeah, that's so true. And when you come and do one of my mobility sessions where I really focus on the neck, you're like, oh my God, I didn't realize I had so much stiffness in my neck. One other thing you can do at the desk to help your back, so all the way down the spine, is we're going to pull the knee into the chest and we're going to round our back and hug the knee into our chest. Then we're going to drop the foot to the floor and then we'll grab the other one, pull it in and really hug that leg right in. I'm hoping that you can see me here. You probably can't. Yeah. Flip it down. But, you know, we're pulling it right in. You're going to feel that through the hip flexors as well. And you get that lovely flexion through the spine. It just helps relieve pain in the moment whilst you're at your desk. If you need more of this, if you want to do this not at your desk, if you want to have some space, you know, where you've assigned yourself because you've been listening and you're like, oh my God, I really do need to put some time aside for myself. I'm going to gift you a 30-minute mobility power session, which is really there to help release tension, achiness, and increase mobility in the back, particularly the lower back. All right. So if you like, comment please on this. Tell us what's your back issues if you have any, or just please give us some feedback on today. Even share it. I will share with you a free 30-minute session, which all my clients have loved. Like, love it. Love. And I want to share it with you. So that's my
and I know from personal experience it is an incredible session. So that is a gift to offer. And as Pieta says, we'd love to get your feedback as we move through this series, because we are really looking holistically at stress and how to support you. We want to know what's happening for you so we can answer your questions and we can get better at tailoring this to manage what's happening for you. And obviously Pieta's got clients and I've got clients, so we know life's tough. This is a difficult time of year. We want to make this hit the mark for you. So we hope this has today, but tell us your thoughts. Tell us what, what you've got out of this, and anything else you want to share with us. Pieta and I will be back next week. As I said, this is the first of a 6-part series. Who knows what we do from there. But we would love to hear from you. And depending on LinkedIn next week, we will be screening into different places. But don't worry, We will tell you where we're going to be out there on social media so that you can join us. Pieta, thank you so much for today.
Thank you. Always, Carrie. Such a
Been
pleasure.
incredible. It's been incredible. So I'm sure that people are going to have listened to this and felt, oh my God, I'm not alone. I'm one of 86%. I can do something about this. And I guess that's what we both want to say. Don't live with it. Don't accept it. You can do something about this.
Yep. Take back control, team. You can absolutely do that. You can fix it. And we're here to help.
Yeah. We will see you all very, very soon, I hope. Goodbye, and go manage your back pain. Have a glass of water.
Have a great day. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you soon.